Our story starts at the end of a fierce battle, where Ang, the protagonist, is grappling with regret over his title as humanity's mightiest warrior. As he faces death, he feels unworthy of the title, despite having defeated all 7 of the Fin demons. However, there remains the 8th Fin demon, which is mentioned in the ancient king's stele. Ang believes that humans often fail to understand the true power of these demons, and he blames himself for not fulfilling the responsibilities of being the mightiest warrior. He wonders what the 8th Fin demon wants from him. As the demon approaches, Ang fears it may seek to mutilate his corpse in retaliation for the deaths of its underlings. As Ang's eyes close, he feels death enveloping him like darkness. After a while, he sees a glimmer of light and opens his eyes to find himself as a young boy, surrounded by many people in an unfamiliar room. He wonders where he is. Looking at his hands, he realizes this does not feel like a dream and is confused about what is happening. He touches his face and is shocked to find that it is not his own. His once ruggedly handsome and charismatic features are gone, and his sturdy physique has vanished. He is deeply concerned about his current whereabouts and identity. It was the Yahello's urban area, where the 3rd captain, Yacht, was addressing the gathered people. He wanted them to understand clearly what it meant to undertake the warrior examination, and that a warrior embodies protection and hope. He recounted a story from the year 3069 when their planet faced its doomsday. During that time, 6 colossal structures, known as the ancient king's steles, descended from the skies. Creatures, now known as demons, arrived and began massacring humans. After enduring brutal battles against their own extinction, humanity developed a way to fight back using grafting equipment. By recycling the cores found within the demons and equipping themselves with this technology, humans were temporarily granted powers on par with the demons. About 60 years ago, Ang, humanity's mightiest warrior, who was revered as a king by the warriors, led the world's forces against the greatest demonic horde ever recorded. The great battle raged for weeks, painting the world in a crimson hue. Ultimately, the warriors succeeded in defeating the demonic horde, delivering a crushing blow to the demons, and thus granting humanity 60 years of uninterrupted development and growth. Ang was shocked to hear about the events from 60 years ago and realized he had somehow been transported into the future. Yaya continued, explaining that the victory came at the cost of countless warriors who sacrificed their lives for the greater good, including Ang himself. Reports indicated that Ang had died in battle while fighting against several of the strongest of the 7 Fin demons. That battle marked a turning point for humanity. It cast aside its fear and rose from the darkness, determined to bring about a new dawn. This battle was known as Battle of Dawn. Ang thought this account was incorrect. He knew that the strongest demon was the 8th Fin demon, and although he was losing consciousness at the time, he had definitely seen it. Even now, humanity remained unaware of the true power of the demons. Yaya continued, emphasizing that without the fallen warriors, no one would be there to uphold the ideals of protection and hope. He asked if they all now understood what it meant to be a warrior. They all agreed. Ang murmured to himself that something was not right. Yaya heard Ang's murmur and approached him, noting that it seemed Ang did not fully understand what it meant to be a warrior. He then asked for Ang's name. Ang hesitated, wondering whether he should reveal that he was Ang, the mightiest warrior of whom they were speaking. He questioned whether they would even believe him, given that he had been transported from 60 years ago into a frail new body. Yaya learned Ang's name and expressed his disapproval, stating that it was disrespectful for such a great name to be borne by someone who could not grasp the fundamental qualities of a warrior. He accused Ang of disrespecting the legacy of the mightiest warrior. In his anger, Yaya punched Ang. Ang was shocked and realized that his current body was so weak it couldn't even respond to such an attack. He never imagined he would bear the same name again. Yaya informed Ang that he would be keeping a close eye on him during the upcoming warrior examination. He then instructed everyone to proceed to the examination grounds for their physical assessment. Lance asked Ang if he was, and introduced himself, expressing his pleasure at meeting Ang. Lu, visibly angered, reproached Lance for calling Ang by the great name of Ang when he was clearly a weakling. She then asked Ang if he still believed he would possess the same powers, just because he shared the name of the mightiest warrior. Ang was taken aback by Lu's arrogance, and questioned how she dared to speak so disrespectfully about his name. Lance explained that Lu was a prominent figure among their batch of warrior candidates known as the Solam Rakshasi. She was the daughter of the renowned Seto noble family from the Yahello's urban area. Ang recognized the Seto name as familiar. Lance helped Ang to his feet and inadvertently clicked a picture of the moment, joking that it was a mesmerizing bromance. As Tenny and Lu paused upon noticing the photo, Lu told them to continue. Ang then asked Lu who she was. Lance inquired if Lu took the photo. Ang told her to focus on more important matters. Misa, who had been observing, admitted to taking the picture and introduced herself. She explained that she was captivated by the moment and found it excellent source material for her work. The scene shifts to the physical assessment field. Ang thought to himself that despite his current body's condition, he was still the mightiest warrior. He found it laughable to hear what it meant to be a warrior in front of him, and was confident that his results would surprise everyone. The referee announced that the first physical assessment would be a long-distance endurance test. As the warriors took their positions and the race began, Ang was determined to finish first and set a new record. However, he ended up with the worst time, coming in last. Exhausted, he realized that his body was in worse shape than he had anticipated, and others laughed at his performance. The second test was the explosive arm strength test, in which Ang also finished last and even sprained his wrist. The third test was the explosive leg strength test, requiring participants to jump. Ang's jump was only half the distance of Lu's, who referred to him as an idiot. The referee announced that Ang was in last place in all the physical assessments, achieving the worst results in history. He warned that Ang might be eliminated from the examination. Ang was deeply disappointed by his performance. Misa continued to snap pictures, thinking it might be the last time she captures moments of Ang and Lance together. The referee informed Yacht that, given Ang's results, he was considering eliminating him from the second test. However, Yacht responded that while Ang might seem like a hopeless case, he still deserved the chance to participate in the second round, which would likely be his last assessment. He instructed the start of the second round. The warriors were informed that the second round would soon begin and would determine their synchronization with the grafting equipment. They were directed to proceed to the next assessment site. Ang saw this as his opportunity to prove himself. He remembered that in the past, he had maintained an average synchronization rate above 96%. Despite his current body's lackluster state, synchronization depended on willpower, and he was determined to show those who had laughed at him. As he observed the grafting equipment, which seemed to have advanced 60 years into the future and was remarkably light, he felt a sense of determination. Lu achieved a synchronization rate of 39%, the highest among the candidates, which was expected given her training in the martial family. Someone was eager to make her his girlfriend, and she was indeed dazzling. As she descended, Tenny and others praised her extensively. With an air of confidence, she headed to the lounge. Once there, she was thrilled to learn that she had achieved a 39% synchronization rate. Although she enjoyed the admiration, she decided to keep a low profile and calm down. Ang was impressed by Lu's 39% rate on the first test. Lance remarked on Lu's strength and spirit, noting that there was a fire burning beneath her slender physique. Ang sensed the same fiery presence in her. Lance mentioned that Ang didn't seem nervous. Ang replied that he was accustomed to such situations. The assessment continued. Many newcomers experiencing the grafting equipment for the first time displayed pained expressions. Due to the impact from the demon core, their bodies were subjected to extreme strain during their initial grafting. Some participants could not endure the pain and gave up. The warriors who achieved the lowest synchronization rate, with a minimum of 10%, would pass the test. Lance achieved a 24% synchronization rate. Naturally, there were some unexpected results. Misa scored 30% and also passed the test. Yacht commented that the assessment had revealed some promising rookies. A girl noted that, including Misa, there were a total of 6 warriors who had shown exceptional potential in their batch. Yacht acknowledged that while there were some promising candidates, there were still others who sorely lacked the necessary qualities. Finally, it was Ang's turn. Others were mocking him, speculating about what his synchronization rate would be, given his poor performance in the first round of assessments. Ang thought to himself that they would regret their laughter. He was determined to prove them wrong and hoped they wouldn't be able to handle the shock of what they were about to see. Ang chose the Crimson Core for its enhancement of physical strength and recalled that there were a total of 6 types of demon cores that could be acquired from the battlefield. The most commonly seen ones were crimson, yellow, green, and blue. He believed that achieving such a high synchronization rate required immense willpower. The strength of one's willpower determined how much power they could draw from the demon core, and further, how much control they could exert over it. He was asked if he was ready. He agreed, and once the process began, a strong reaction was felt in the lounge, leaving Lu surprised to find it coming from Ang. Ang thought to himself that he would demonstrate the synchronization rate of the mightiest warrior. Lance remarked that Ang was exceptionally strong and had been concealing his power. The staff was astonished, when the synchronization rate surged to 40%. Ang was confident that he would easily reach 96%, and his intensity increased. The warriors were astounded as the rate continued to rise, reaching 60%. Yao was shocked to see the synchronization rate and questioned how such an exaggerated rate was possible, wondering if there was a malfunction. The girl reported that the rate was still rising, reaching 80%. The warriors began to suspect whether Ang was cheating or if there was a problem with the equipment. Ang thought about being referred to as the king by the warriors and resolved to show them what the mightiest warrior could achieve. He wanted them to see the difference in power between them and himself. However, he felt an unusual shift, and his strength began to dissipate, leaving him exhausted. He declared that would not continue further. One of the men asked if he was playing around, and it turned out that there had been a malfunction. The final results showed a synchronization rate of only 10%. The girl explained to Yao that the demon core had shattered and was likely an anomalous core, which had caused the abnormal data. Yao wondered if this was indeed a malfunction. Ultimately, it was confirmed that Ong passed the test with a synchronization rate of 10%. Others commented that it was an anomalous demon core and that there was no way such a frail body could achieve such a terrifying synchronization rate. Tenny laughed at Ong's expense. Lance approached to check if Ong was all right. Lu, feeling a mix of fear and jealousy, thought there was someone more eye-catching than herself, which she wouldn't tolerate. Lance helped Ong leave the area. Ong reflected on how mature he had become, realizing that his competitiveness with the others had been a good thing, and he was relieved to have passed the test. Misa happily took pictures of Lance with Ong. As Ong sat in the lounge, he wondered about the earlier event, feeling as though something from deep within had drained his strength in a single breath, a phenomenon he had never experienced before. Despite his willpower raising the synchronization rate to 80%, even a low-quality core shouldn't have shattered like that. Yao arrived to congratulate them on making it to the final round of the examination, the real combat exercise. For Tenny, it would be their first time fighting against demons. He hoped that they would all pass the next phase safely. A man then instructed them to proceed to the third examination ground. Ong, feeling unwell, walked with a sense of foreboding, muttering that he felt he might die. As he left, Yao noticed Ong's broken crimson core and became intrigued by his power. Yao was curious to see how Ong would perform in the upcoming fog hunt round. They gathered in front of the gate, which was about to open. Ong thought about how it would be his first time stepping outside and reflected on how humans had lived in isolated settlements for years. With the area beyond the wall perpetually shrouded in thick fog, they were instructed to stop wasting time, proceed quietly, and check their equipment thoroughly before talking, or else they risked death. Aang pondered the new core he had received. He didn't believe the core itself was the issue, but his strength had vanished suddenly, as if something within him had rejected the core. He wondered if this was a side effect of time travel. As he moved forward, he sensed the presence of demons. Shockwaves emanated from him, reaching a nearby cave where a demon was seated. The demon, feeling a presence stronger than itself, was taken aback. Aang wondered if these were the demons he had sensed, as something within him began to resonate for an unknown reason. Just as he was contemplating this, Lu urged him to move ahead. He apologized for the delay, and Lance approached to ask if there was a problem. Aang started to say something, but before he could finish, a man instructed him, Misa, and 3 others to form a team. Since everyone else was ready, there was no need to wait. They should catch up with the group ahead. Misa wondered if forming a team with them was part of Aang's plan. He replied that he hadn't considered it. Liu urged them not to linger and to move ahead. She had felt anxious earlier, worried that no one would team up with her. Lance then asked Aang to join him, and Misa took a photo of the group, announcing that their team was now formed. The dispelling stele was a black-colored structure made from durable minerals. One of its minerals had a special property that dispels fog within a certain distance. The examiner explained that they would be undertaking the exam as a team of 4. He assumed they were all aware of the exam's nature, which was the fog hunt. Each team member would receive a combat knife and a mini-fog dispelling device, made from the same material as the stele. Their mission was straightforward. The fog hunt was the final obstacle every new recruit must face in the fog-covered world. A warrior must be mindful of the dangers that lurk in the fog. Becoming a warrior involves more than just having a capable physique. It requires facing one's fears and confronting the unknown as a team. They must awaken the hunter within them, defeat the demons that appear, and only then will they truly earn the title of a warrior. The examination for the first team concluded, and the second team was instructed to prepare. Yoshi, Joel, and Yao observed the scene from the gate. Yoshi noted that there were several promising new talents in the group, but her focus was clearly on Lu. She inquired about Joel's and Yao's opinions. Joel responded that Lu, coming from a martial family with a proper upbringing, had the potential to become a fine warrior. Yao added that there were multiple individuals to watch, specifically mentioning Ang. Yao had investigated Ang's core personally, but had found no faults. He remained curious about what had really happened during the earlier event. Yoshi patted Yao on the head, calling him Tong Tong, and asked what he was thinking. Yao asked her not to use that nickname. Joel commented that only Yoshi could make Tang Tang blush. Yoshi then inquired if they had assessed the demon levels, emphasizing that only non-fin demons should appear within the exam ground. Yao reassured her not to worry. They had been monitoring the area for several days to ensure the exam would proceed safely, confirming that no fin demons were within a safe distance of Helos Town. Joel added that even if a fin demon did appear, they would intervene to protect the future warriors. The next group's exam was completed, and it was now time for the 10th group. Lu, who was in this group along with Ang, prepared to start. As Ang picked up the small container, Lu took it from him and rushed ahead, eager to demonstrate her skills. Ang wondered why someone would be so intent on showing off. Tenny quickly followed Lu, jumping to place the container in its designated spot. Yoshi commented that Lu's recovery core was impressive, noting that her dexterity was on par with the blue agility cores, which reflected her martial family background. Soon, demons began to attack. Ang instructed the group to engage the demons, and Lance leaped into action, delivering a powerful punch. Yao remarked that Lance's performance was commendable, and that he had already harnessed his core strength effectively. Ang drew his knife, advising each person to target a single demon. Tenny complied and charged into battle. Misa slashed at one demon multiple times, eventually killing it. Lance also eliminated a demon with a single punch. Joel noted that the coordination between Misa and Lance was excellent, with Misa showcasing impressive moves and maximizing the agility cores. Yao reminded them not to focus too much on any one person. Lu then drove her knife into a demon, causing it to burst apart. Now it was Ang's turn to showcase his skills. He focused on the 3 critical points: the throat, chest, and abdomen. With precise strikes, he targeted these areas, reflecting on the limitations of his current body and the amount of burst damage he could deliver. Determined to push his limits, he prepared to test his capabilities under these exam conditions, and rushed forward to continue attacking the demon. The demon punched him, but he dodged and stabbed the knife under its shoulder, thinking that his reaction time was too slow. As the demon attempted to kick him, he dodged again and stabbed the knife once more, noting that his motor coordination was lacking. He even landed a few hits but found that his attacks were too weak. Lance remarked that it seemed like Ang was toying with the demon. Misa was taking pictures and wondered if she would capture everything. Lu remained unresponsive but thought that Ang was intentionally showing off. Finally, Yoshi noticed and asked who he was, observing that he was pressing his attacks effectively. Joel added that Ang also seemed to move like a seasoned veteran. Ang concluded that his body couldn't use any of the abilities from his past, and he was tiring quickly, a dire situation. He decided it was time to finish off the demon. However, as he rushed to attack, something emerged from the group to kill the demon. Misa wondered what those roots were. As they fought the demon, a one-fin demon emerged. Recognizing the threat, Yao instructed the warriors to fall back, and they quickly complied. Yoshi and Joel also engaged the one-fin demon. Yoshi urged the hunters not to panic and to retreat to Yao, who promised to protect them until they reached town. The one-fin demon remarked that a human felt like a demon. Ang and his 3 friends were already trapped and wondered what the demon was saying. Lu thought the no-fin demon was no match for the one-fin demon and feared she would be torn to shreds in an instant. Ang realized that his current body wasn't equipped to handle a one-fin demon and felt overwhelmed by the fear of facing such a formidable opponent as an ordinary warrior. The one-fin demon incapacitated the 4 of them and began to carry them away. Joel and Yoshi rushed to confront the demon, but as it fled underground with the 4, Joel instructed the group to follow. After some time, the trail ended abruptly. Yoshi wondered how a one-fin demon could have appeared suddenly, given that Yao had repeatedly checked the area for days without making any mistakes. This kind of incident had never occurred before. Yao arrived, questioning where the 4 warriors had gone and why they had stopped tracking the demon. Joel told him to calm down as the trail had ended. Yoshi explained that the one-fin demon seemed to have descended deeper and that they shouldn't rush since the area ahead was unexplored. Yaod, recalling his past and the loss of his brother, pounded the ground in frustration, blaming himself for the danger faced by the four warriors. Joel suggested returning to town, betting that it had descended into chaos in their absence. He proposed sending search teams to investigate the surrounding area and ensure no more one-fin demons were present. Yoshi agreed that no one expected such an outcome, but emphasized the need to stay calm, even though she knew it was difficult for Yaod. Yaod stood up, telling both Yoshi and Joel to return to town while he continued searching for the four warriors, assuring them not to worry. Joel began to speak, but Yoshi interrupted, instructing Yaod to return before sunset. Yaod agreed and ventured into the fog. Yoshi remarked that they wouldn't be able to change Yaod's mind. Joel agreed, adding that Yaod's younger brother had been taken by a demon, and Yaod still blamed himself for that loss. Yoshi noted that if Yaod's brother were alive, he would be around the same age as the captured kids, and they likely reminded Yaod of him. The scene shifts to the cave where Ang and the others were tied up. Ang woke up, confused about their location, and was relieved to find that everyone was still alive. The demon appeared from behind, commenting that Ang was the first to wake and seemed different from the other three. The demon was curious about Ang's identity and why he had a similar aura to that of the demon, even appearing stronger than the one-fin demon. Ang asked what the demon was talking about. In response, Ang emitted a red light, breaking free from his restraints and charged at the demon. The demon dodged Ang's attack. Ang thought to himself that in the past, he could have sliced the demon's head off before it even had a chance to react. He needed to rescue the others. He noted that the one-fin demon had a red core, which gave it agile movement and flexible limbs, enhancing its reaction and attack speed. However, this also meant that its joints weren't protected by thick skin, making its agility both a strength and a weakness. Just then, the demon extended spikes from its hand and stabbed them into Aang. Aang realized that targeting the demon's joints was the only way to exploit its weakness. He pressed hard to force the demon's hand out, determined not to be underestimated. He declared to the demon that he had killed countless one-fin demons before. The demon responded by delivering a brutal kick, injuring Aang and causing him to bleed. The demon taunted Aang, stating that even though he knew its weakness, as a wood-type demon, it could regenerate its body. Aang was shocked, as he believed only green core demons had regenerative abilities. He wondered if demons had evolved over the past half-century. The demon accused Aang of underestimating it, and then used roots to stab through Aang, drawing him closer. Grabbing Aang by the head, the demon said that he still didn't understand Aang. Aang felt the roots piercing through his organs, causing intense pain and making it hard to breathe. He had only just been reincarnated, yet it seemed he was already on the brink of death. He feared for the lives of the other three as well. Just as in his past life, Aang felt that everyone would die alongside him, and he was filled with regret and sorrow. He lamented his weakness and felt profound remorse for his companions. The one-fin demon, sensing Aang's weakness, decided to consume him in order to evolve. However, as the demon prepared to eat Aang, another demon within Aang questioned if the one-fin demon planned to consume him. It pondered whether, if Aang died, the demon's plan would be thwarted and expressed frustration at having to use its remaining consciousness in such a dire situation. The one-fin demon sensed an overwhelming, terrifying aura. As the demon form within Aang began to emerge, the one-fin demon wondered if it was a five-fin or six-fin demon. The release of energy from Aang's demon was immense, causing tremendous pressure and sending waves of power into the sky. The one-fin demon was struck with fear as the eight-fin demon revealed itself. The eight-fin demon declared itself the strongest red core demon and the king of the one-fin demon. Meanwhile, Yacht continued his search, dispatching all the demons that crossed his path. After a while, he paused and reported that he had searched the surrounding area, but had only encountered 2 no-fin demons. He felt that the 4 candidates were not there, and resolved to continue searching until he found them before sunset. He also noticed a massive energy flux in the distance, and wondered what it could be, speculating if the candidates might be involved. Aang, on the other hand, expressed his surprise at emerging in such a dark and sunless place. He demanded that the final demon answer truthfully, whether he had disappeared, and if the other 5 were still reigning as King Fins. The final demon confirmed that nothing had changed since then. Also, Aang remarked that it seemed the demons were existing relatively peacefully. Anger surged within him as he recalled the events from 60 years ago and questioned whether they had forgotten what they had done to him. He then attacked the final demon, expressing his frustration. He lamented that despite choosing the body of the mightiest warrior as his vessel, it had proven to be so weak after time traveling, leaving him deeply disappointed. Ang was frustrated that he was wasting the last of his consciousness on such a trivial situation. If he wished to reveal himself again, he would need to wait until he was fully awakened. He had to wait for the mightiest warrior to gradually regain his full memories. The final demon explained that the fin memory Ang referred to was associated with their evolution. Ang noted that the protrusions on their knees and the number of fins they had indicated their level. When they grew new fins, they required fin memory, a trait unique to their kind. This was why they were always stronger than other races, and the warrior Ang currently embodied was the same as them. However, they could only evolve after devouring a demon of the same level. Ang needed to consume demons of a higher level to awaken the fin memory and evolve. The final demon said this would be a gift from the 8-fin demon. He pledged to support the 8-fin demon and serve him with all his abilities. The 8-fin demon replied that he was unworthy, and his only value was to enable Ang to awaken his fin memories. He had already prepared the first stage for Ang and didn't want to disappoint him in future leveling. The 8-fin demon needed Ang to slowly awaken to the 8 fins, and when the time came, the 8-fin demon would awaken from his deep slumber. He then merged back into Ang. Ang was reminded of the past, where he and a boy were gravely injured. A man had told Ang that he wouldn't die because a girl was waiting for him. Ang had questioned why the man wasn't dying, and noted that his face was changing. He opened his eyes in the present and wondered if he was dreaming. Realizing these were old memories, he was taken aback. The curtains opened, revealing Lu, Misa, and Lance, who were delighted to see Ang awake. Ang was shocked to see them. Misa noticed a change in Ang's hair and jokingly asked if the demon had taken him to a barber. Ang, confused, asked what she was talking about, and then inquired about their well-being, recalling that they had been taken underground by the final demon. Yacht entered, noting that Ang seemed to know everything, and asked him to explain what had happened underground. The other 2 captains were present as well, and Ang asked why they were there. Yoshi explained that Yacht had brought them back, referring to him as Tang Tang. Yoshi noticed the others' confusion. Joel added that Yacht had found the 4 of them lying unconscious in a cave. It was fortunate that the 1-fin demon was found there. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to bring them all back. Yoshi mentioned that the 3 others, besides Ang, had awakened after a while but had no recollection of what happened inside the cave. Only Ang remained unconscious and had undergone some changes. She handed him a mirror to show him his altered hair and asked him to try to recall something from the underground cave. Ang was shocked by his appearance and wondered what had happened to him. Everything that had occurred after his time travel was beyond his understanding. He remembered losing consciousness after being hit in the cave, but couldn't recall anything beyond that. He debated whether to tell them about his time travel, but decided against it, realizing it would be troublesome. They might not believe him and could think he had lost his mind. Instead, he resolved to continue operating under his current identity and focus on understanding what was happening. Ang mentioned that he briefly regained consciousness and realized that they were in an underground cave. He fainted again shortly afterward and didn't know what happened next. Yacht wondered if he might be overthinking things. However, upon arriving at the scene, he noticed blood on the walls. Joel approached Ang and pointed out that the name associated with him was the same as that of the mightiest warrior. He noted that while Ang's fighting skills were impressive, he was still lacking in certain areas. Joel asked if Ang had fought demons before. Ang denied, explaining that while he was interested in combat and had done extensive research on demons, he had no direct experience fighting them. Yoshi remarked that Ang seemed well-studied and advised Yacht not to give up on training such a promising warrior. Ang then inquired about the status of his warrior examination. Misa informed him that they had passed and were now part of the Stilk team. Lance added that due to recent incidents, Yacht had organized them into a group of 4. Lu noted that they were falling behind compared to others. Yacht explained that teams had to accept missions to gain points, and since Ang had been unconscious for 3 days, they hadn't accumulated any points. Ang was shocked to learn he had been unconscious for so long. The next day, the 4 of them, prepared and dressed in their proper uniforms, stood in the town. Citizens discussed the new warriors who had gathered 3 days ago. Yacht congratulated them on becoming official warriors and commended them for surviving an encounter with a 1-fin demon. He would be leading their squad, which was one of 9 under his command. Yacht expressed his hope that they would stand out among the other squads. Ang thought the rules seemed tougher than before. Lance asked Ang if he had really never heard of the squad leaderboard. It appeared that Ang was a newcomer without much knowledge about it, and currently they were at the bottom of the leaderboard. Yacht explained the details of the leaderboard and informed them that the bottom squads would face monthly punishments, such as becoming the cleaning squad, until the next month's rankings were decided. Ang understood why the town was so clean. Yacht appointed Lu as the leader of their group and asked if there were any objections. Lance and Misa had no objections. Ang wondered if they would later regret not making him the leader. Lu was excited about his new role. Yacht instructed them to take missions from the board and to become accustomed to using their nano wings in battle. He told them to come to him if they encountered any problems. As Yacht left, Lu suggested they check the available missions, noting that they needed to catch up with the others. Misa, however, pointed out something more important. They needed to take a group picture. They quickly took the photo. Yacht later asked Joel and Yoshi for their thoughts on the situation. Yoshi mentioned that, as Yacht had noted, there were no fin demons around the cave. All had succumbed to explosive deaths, leaving blood splatters across the floor. Joel asked Yacht if he suspected that the 4 candidates were responsible for this. Yacht replied that he felt suspicious about Ang, noting that Ang had a familiar odor about him. Yoshi advised Yacht not to overthink it and expressed her happiness that the 4 had returned safely. She requested that Yacht train them hard so they wouldn't lose to her squad. Yacht assured her he was being serious. Joel suggested that they keep observing and to inform them if Ang did anything noteworthy. The scene shifted to the mission board, where Ang was pleased to see that all the missions were of the Iran level, each offering 10 points upon completion. Lance pointed out that A-level missions were the highest level available, while Misa added that these might be the most challenging. Lance explained that Bill-level missions awarded 6 points and CA-level missions awarded 3 points. While the latter two were relatively easier and safer, air-level missions were notorious for their danger, with frequent casualties. Lu took note of the 3 missions available and, along with Ang, decided they would undertake all of them. The 4 of them started running, and Ang activated the core. The nano wings deployed, but one of them got stuck on a rock. Ang focused on visualizing and harnessing the energy from the nano wings. Successfully, he materialized a sword in his hand, reflecting on how nanotech had advanced over the past 60 years. They then took cover behind a rock, and Lu confirmed they were all set. She informed them that their targets were 2 demons with no fins, and they needed to take both out simultaneously. She instructed them to stick to the plan and wait for her signal. When the signal came, they rushed to attack the demons. Lu noted they had 3 A-level missions to complete and lacked the time for an extended fight. They needed to end the confrontation quickly. Lance would obstruct their line of sight, so by attacking the demons, they could disappear from view. Lu reminded the team of the plan. She, Ang, and Misa would immobilize the demons. After executing the attack, Ang wondered how the demons would move with a severed joint. Lance punched both demons into the air, setting them up for Lu to finish the fight with her graceful moves. She executed the final blow with precision, feeling satisfied that the timing was perfect. Misa noted that the fog had cleared and the insertion was stable. Lance, relieved that the task was complete, commented on how dispersing the fog in the wild was significantly more challenging than in the exams, which was expected for A-level missions. Even one mission had taken a considerable amount of time. Misa discovered a red core from the demons and was pleased. Lu confirmed that they had finally achieved the full 10 points. Ang was surprised to learn that completing a mission automatically destroyed the cores. Misa explained that all the science was geared towards defeating the demons, and a chip inside the mission form was connected to the leaderboard in town. All completed missions would have their points automatically added to the leaderboard. After finishing the fog dispersal mission outside the town, Misa asked Ang if she could take a look at the other 2 cores. Upon inspection, she expressed disappointment. They had only acquired 3 cores after spending the entire afternoon fighting the no-fin demons, and they still needed to collect 7 more. Misa mentioned that capturing demons alive was particularly challenging. Lance commented that it seemed they had managed to keep things relatively easy for quite some time. Lu then outlined the next part of their plan. They would complete the remaining missions and continue pursuing A-level missions with the goal of reaching the top. Misa noted that Lu was glowing at that moment and took a picture of her. Lance emphasized that they should aim for the top rank and not let other squads look down on them. He then asked Ang for his thoughts. Ang replied that other squads would also be earning points, so they needed to act quickly to stay ahead. It was always the case that the fastest teams were the ones who succeeded, while those who lagged behind gained nothing. He reflected on how, despite being over 50 years old and having lived through 2 lifetimes, he felt rejuvenated by being with them. The youthful drive and determination of his teammates were invigorating and made him feel young again. He suggested that they try to complete another mission before sunset. Misa and Lance agreed. Lu felt as though Ang was stepping into her role. Lance had already taken down several demons and reported that they had eliminated 3 more. Lu noted that they were running low on tranquilizers for the no-fins, and there was a limit to how many each squad could carry. As Lu handled her gun, Ang stared at it intently. Lu explained that it was a nanotech tranquilizer gun, which would allow them to capture the demons. Ang recalled the past when capturing demons required brute force and beating them unconscious, often leading to complaints from researchers about brain damage. Lance remarked that it was fortunate they had captured the demons, especially since they were out of tranquilizers. It seemed they had completed the mission, having slain an entire group of demons to capture the 3 alive, and there were more than 10 in total. Stretching out, Misa reminded them that all other warriors had to return before sunset, an ironclad rule with punishments for late returns. She suggested they head back. Ang wondered if he even had a home in that timeline. Lu mentioned that she needed to hurry and return as well. They just needed to set the GPS so the researchers could locate the spot, and the mission would be considered complete once they collected the 3 demons. Ang then asked if anyone else felt a sudden surge of killing intent. Red rays appeared from behind, striking the demons and killing them instantly. A masked boy confronted them, declaring that he wouldn't allow them to complete their mission. He insisted that his squad was supposed to handle all A-level missions, and questioned who gave Lu's squad permission to take them on. Aang wondered who these people were. The leader of the guild explained that they were the Black Gun Squad, the seniors of their group. He then asked a girl from his team how many squads had joined the mission. She replied that there were 3. The leader scolded Aang and his team for their rudeness in not greeting their seniors. The 4 members of the Black Gun Squad descended and confronted Lu's team, accusing them of taking A-level missions without permission and questioning if they were looking down on them. Lu was infuriated that these 4 had killed the demons her squad had worked so hard to capture. The boy from the Black Gun Squad asked about the leader of Lu's squad and why they hadn't come to greet the Black Gun Squad themselves. Lu rushed to kick him, but he dodged and questioned how she dared to attack her seniors. Lu retorted that they were not worthy of being called her seniors. Lance and Misa intervened, urging Lu to resolve the issue through conversation. Misa expressed frustration over the Black Gun Squad's unreasonable behavior and questioned how they could kill the demons her team had worked so hard to capture. The boy dismissed their concerns, saying it was all part of the competition and that they were being naive. Lu's anger grew with each passing moment. Lance and Misa tried to pull Lu away, and Lance asked Ang to handle the situation and settle things peacefully. However, Ang charged forward, kicking the boy and causing him to fall, which also knocked off his mask. Aang exclaimed that he had never heard something so shameless and questioned if they understood the effort it took to capture those demons. Lance and Misa were stunned by Aang's reaction, but Lu was pleased. The boy, now unmasked, challenged Aang, telling him to be ready for a fight. Lu, eager for battle, also prepared to engage. As the battle was about to start, Yacht intervened, blocking the attacks from both the boy and Aang, and pushed them both to the ground. Aang thought the fight was over and was curious to see how strong the current generation of warriors was. Yacht, visibly angry, reminded everyone that the sun was about to set and that they were still causing trouble. He warned them not to provoke the demons. The boy then claimed that they were attacked by others. Lu questioned why he was speaking to the captain. Misa revealed that she had photos of the Black Gun Squad killing the demons that Lu's squad had captured. Lance asked when Misa had taken these photos. Yacht clarified that they were the ones who had taken the A-rank mission. Lu reported that the mission had been successful until the Black Gun Squad interfered. Yacht acknowledged this, explaining that while the interference seemed unreasonable, similar situations had occurred with the Black Gun Squad when they were new. Yacht stated that he would not involve himself further. It was up to the squads to resolve their conflicts on their own. The only thing that mattered was the points at kata, and while direct harm or endangerment of others was not allowed, other methods to achieve mission goals were permitted. The rules were the same for everyone, and they would face even more despicable situations in the future, though not insignificant ones like this. Yacht had only stopped their duel because the sun was setting, so he instructed everyone to return to the town immediately. He told the Black Gun Squad that it was shameful for them to let a rookie squad handle A-level missions and advised them to go back and reconsider their actions. As the boy was leaving, he asked Aang to dare reveal his name. Aang provided his name, and the boy, feeling a bit unsettled, turned to his friends and questioned if they had heard that Aang was the name of the mightiest warrior. The boy declared that he wouldn't allow Ang and his squad to take points easily and vowed to make them the last ones. Pointing to the injury on his face, he promised to make Ang pay for it. He put his mask back on and instructed his squad to leave. As they departed, Yacht remarked that while the Black Gun squad might not be the strongest, they were known for their swift and decisive actions and would likely go out of their way to sabotage Lu's squad's missions. Their team leader also used a gun. Although the boy hadn't shown his gun, Yacht admitted that he was quite strong for a rookie. If everyone had fought seriously, the outcome might have been different. Yacht then told the four of them to head back to town. Lu, contemplating the situation, saw Ang standing there and asked why he had acted so recklessly. She also expressed her appreciation for his kick. Lance invited Ang to his home for dinner that evening, but Ang declined. Lance inquired if Ang had a secret plan, to which Ang agreed. He thought he would focus on capturing 3 demons alive that day. At night, an announcement warned people not to leave the tower for their own safety. Ang stood to the side, reflecting on how he had only heard the announcement and seen no one walking around. He guessed that with the entire town under lockdown, there wouldn't be much to do, and he planned to check out his home after completing his mission. He noted that the security at the main gate was lax, observing only a solitary guard. He wondered if they were understaffed or if they simply didn't expect anyone to attempt leaving at night. Seeing the gap in the gate wide enough for him to slip through, he prepared to go. Just then, Lu approached and noted that she had anticipated his actions. She was clearly excited and mentioned that she knew he had planned to go out at night when he had previously hinted at it. Ang replied that her observation was making him nervous. Lu then asked why he was out at such a late hour and if he was going somewhere specific. Ang played it off, saying he had simply eaten too much and wanted to take a stroll. He then admitted that he intended to surprise everyone in the morning and use the time to make up for the sabotage caused by the masked boy earlier that afternoon. Since Lu had seen him, he realized that his plan was now at risk. As Ang entered the town, Lu caught up with him and asked about his plans. She remarked that she felt like a genius and was looking forward to seeing the masked guy's utterly confused face in the morning. Ang asked why she was snickering. Lu claimed she wasn't, but her amusement was evident. On top of the main gate, 2 guards sat, yawning widely. One of them complained that guarding at night felt like torture and wondered why they couldn't close the gate completely since no one was supposed to leave the town. The second guard, munching on something, warned him not to say such things, or the third captain would hear. He explained that the gap in the gate was there for emergencies, recalling an incident from a few years ago when refugees had arrived at the gate. They were slaughtered by demons because the gate took too long to open. Since then, all towns had maintained an emergency gap, prioritizing human lives over all else in that world. The first guard apologized, and the second guard reassured him, saying they would get used to it. He then pulled out an adult book, indicating that they had ways to pass the time. The first guard realized that the book featured the latest photo shoot of female warriors from other towns. The second guard mentioned that it had cost him a fortune and was hard to obtain, but it might make the night pass faster by flipping through the pages. As they were engrossed in the book, Ang and Lu rushed out of the gate. Ang observed that the exam ground they had used was now shrouded in denser fog than it had been in the morning. They moved to a different location, where Lu pointed out that they would be less noticeable due to the distance from the walls and the cover provided by the decaying forest. Ang reminded Lu of the plan. He would lure the demons out, and she should aim for their heads. They would use brute force to incapacitate them. He then headed into the fog, telling her to wait for him. Lu, although confident in Ang's abilities, felt a twinge of anxiety as he disappeared into the thick fog. She wondered if her emotions were a mix of excitement and fear, but knew she had to stay focused and be ready at a moment's notice. Lu was impressed by Ang's experienced method of luring demons. His ability to attract one no-fin demon at a time significantly reduced the difficulty of capturing them. From Lu's perspective, the novel approach of using brute force was both exciting and refreshing. She quickly adapted to this new style and progressed rapidly. When Ang signaled her to attack, Lu moved swiftly, and together their movements were light and precise, as if they were playing with the demon. They continued to beat it until it fainted, reminiscent of their past methods. Ang reflected on how his new body still required a lot of training, even though he had once easily captured no-fin demons in his previous life. Leo mentioned that they had finally captured the third demon and expressed her exhaustion. Ang instructed her to leave them there. Lu hesitated and asked if he was sure. Ang assured her that the no-fin demons lacked intelligence and wouldn't know how to rescue one of their own. They were unlikely to approach the town, so the 3 demons would be safe where they were. The method of striking the demons' heads ensured they would remain unconscious for some time, allowing them to return in the morning to complete the mission. Lu asked how Ang knew so much about this technique. Ang admitted he might have revealed more than intended. Suddenly, two one-fin demons appeared, their scent unmistakably human. Ang was alarmed to see two of these demons at once and wondered why they had appeared simultaneously. He and Lu were not well matched against them. The town's alarm sounded, and Yacht, Joel, and Yoshi rushed to the top of the main gate. Joel informed the guards that one-fin demons had been detected and instructed them to sweep the area with searchlights. Yoshi questioned what was happening and whether these demons were the same as those from the exam. Yacht clarified that they were not. The guards soon located the two one-fin demons. Joel, surprised, wondered if something was drawing them in. He instructed to stay calm, close the gates, and prepare the defense cannons. As the cannons readied for action, Yacht ordered not to close the gates because someone was still outside. He was infuriated to see Lu and Ong outside and demanded to know why they were out there. Yoshi wondered why those two were outside. They discovered three no-fin demons tied up, and Yacht realized what had happened. The two wanted to make amends for the mission that had been sabotaged earlier in the day. Joel added that their overconfidence and rash actions were common downfalls among rookie warriors. Angered, Yacht decided to punish them both when they returned. He rushed toward the demons, while Yoshi informed Joel that she would accompany Yacht, leaving the area to him. Joel felt that his hard-earned night of drinking had been ruined. The one-fin demons realized that the warriors had noticed them. Ang asked Lu to hold back, and they would wait for support while trying to hold out. Ang wondered if he was the target, questioning whether this was similar to the last incident, and whether it was due to his reincarnation or something that had happened inside the tunnel. Lu suggested they fight together. The demons questioned whether they were resisting, and then they descended, with one rushing to attack Lu, deeming her useless. But Aang saved Lu by pushing her out of the way. The demon remarked on Aang's quick reaction. Lu responded by kicking the demon and noticed some water, wondering if she had missed. The second one-fin demon ensnared her with 3 threads. The first demon instructed Aang to stay focused. Yacht arrived, delivering a punch to the demon and declaring that he wouldn't let the demons harm the warriors. He reassured everyone to stay calm, stating that everything was under control. Yoshi observed that the demons seemed to be a blue core water type and a red core earth type. She decided to prioritize saving Lu. The earth-type demon commented that it was fortunate he had blocked the attack, or he might have lost his head. Joel, assessing the situation, wondered if they were at a standstill and then ordered to hold the defense cannons. A girl approached Joel, informing him that they had detected a massive number of no-fin demons headed their way. Joel asked how many demons there were. She replied that it was difficult to count, as it seemed like a horde. Seeing the overwhelming number of demons approaching, Joel ordered the alarm to be sounded and instructed all the warriors to take their battle stations. As the alarm rang, the warriors realized it was a demon horde alert and quickly assembled on the wall. Yacht saw the demon horde and remarked that it seemed they had come prepared. Ang noted that the demons had bypassed them and were heading towards the town. Yoshi mentioned that the two one-fin demons had summoned the entire horde, so they needed to resolve the situation quickly. Lu urged them not to worry about her and to focus on defending the town. She felt she had been careless and had become a burden to the captains, referring to herself as a failure as a team leader. Suddenly, a demon covered her mouth to silence her. Meanwhile, another demon took Lu away. Ang wondered if this was a trap designed to separate him from the captains. He decided to stay calm and not act rashly, acknowledging that he wasn't strong enough to handle the situation recklessly. Yacht and Yoshi instructed Ang not to pursue Lu, warning him that he wouldn't stand a chance against the one-fin demon. However, Aang couldn't shake the feeling that Lu's eyes seemed familiar to him, and he couldn't bear to leave her to die. Ignoring their warnings, he rushed to follow the one-fin demon. And that's for today, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you on the next upload.